Well, it's that time of year. You might be heading off on a holiday, trip, vacation. And you know what it's like when you're trying to get yourself organized to go. You're waking up in the middle of the night, suddenly remembering something that you need to do, or a thought pops into your head in the middle of your work day, and I must remember to do that. And then, oh, write that down, I must remember to do that. And then you start worrying that there's something that should be on your list that isn't on your list. And what if you forget something really important? Or what if you walk out the door and leave something on that shouldn't be on? So I've got you. I have pulled together my ultimate checklist before I head off on a trip, in the kind of months before, weeks before, the week before, the day before, the morning of. I've got a checklist that I just kind of run through. And so today I'm going to share that with you. Some things will apply to lots of people, some things will apply, to a few people. And I'd love for you to share in the comments and add anything on that you routinely do that would help everybody else. So without further ado, let's get to the ultimate pre-trip, pre-holiday checklist. And also, just to say, you're definitely going to want to stick around until the end, because I've got a really good bonus tip for you, and it is a game changer for me. So let's start with the things that I routinely do at least a month before a trip, and probably further in advance if I can. And the first thing on that list is to update my packing list, or you might need to just create one from scratch. I keep a couple of packing lists on the go. I keep them on my laptop. You might like to use a nice notebook. I've got a couple of different ones. So I've got maybe one for a sort of beach type vacation. I've got one that might be for kind of city breaks, because you're going to need slightly different things on those trips. But I will update them every so often. Something that I might take on a trip and think, right, that's really useful, I'm going to add that on for the next time. So go to your packing lists, either create one or update it as required. And then the second thing on that list would be from the, just once you've done that, is to create a kind of master shopping list. What are the things that you're going to need to buy for this trip? Whether it's toiletries, whether, sun lotion, maybe your kids have outgrown all their clothes and you need to buy new clothes, or maybe you're going somewhere that you've never been before and you need particular things for that trip. So second thing on the list is create your shopping list, and then try and maybe order the things that you need to order. Maybe you just need to order some guidebooks, if you still like, traditional guidebooks for somewhere, and you're just going to jump onto Amazon and order them. Or whatever it is that you are going to order online. Maybe you need a few different outfits, so you go onto your favorite website and you get the ordering process underway. Create your packing list, make your shopping list, and then start the buying process, ordering process. So these are kind of the first three things that I would get done at least a month before. Next thing I would say at least a month before, and probably you're going to have to do it quite a bit before, is if you've got pets, you need to organise your pet sitter, especially at busy times of year. If you use a kennel or something like that, or you book them in to go and stay with a pet sitter, they get really busy. So you're going to want to do that. I would say I would try and do that as soon as I've booked the trip. As soon as you know that you're going to be away, get those sort of pet sitters and things booked. The next thing would be to organise your who's going to come and water your plants. Or, if you're away in the middle of the summer, maybe you need somebody to come and water your garden for you. Again, you're maybe got a friend that's going to do that, but you're fitting around when they're taking their trips as well. So yeah, definitely see who's available. Get your plant waterer or your garden waterer, get that all in place. As well as that, you might want, maybe it's going to be the same person, but you want to think about, is there somebody that can just, pop into your home and make sure that everything's in order? Maybe pick up your mail, just keep an eye on the house. Maybe, as I say, it's going to be the same person that comes and waters your plants, but just make sure that you get all of that kind of booked in with that person. at least a month in advance. Next thing on the list, and this is something to add on to your kind of master shopping list, is have a look in your diary a little bit ahead, either the duration of when you're away on your trip and immediately when you come back, and just see if there are any birthdays, birthday gifts or birthday cards that you need to buy, or maybe your kids have got a birthday party that they're going to or something like that. Because I've been caught out a few times where your focus is so much on your trip and then you forget that it's actually a family member's birthday 2 days after you come home, and then you're scrambling trying to pull together a gift or whatever. So I've always got it on the list. Just have a look ahead a little bit and just see if there's anything immediately, or maybe you're going to friends for dinner and you need to get a little something to take along. Just, is there something that is in the week after you come back that you would be much better to organise before the trip than be scrambling, the day that you come home to get that and pull that together. So that's something else to add on to the list. Next thing would be to cancel all your kind of regular deliveries, including any grocery box deliveries. So many of us now use services like HelloFresh or Gusto or Mindful Chef or something like that. And they've all got, the facility within the website just to go in and cancel the deliveries for the time that you're going to be away. And you can usually see the calendar way ahead. So this is something that you can definitely do at least a month before your trip, is to just go on and block off those dates that you're going to be away, so that you don't accidentally get a delivery box, grocery box landing on your doorstep and sitting there, making it very clear to all and sundry that the house is unoccupied. Another thing to do well in advance of your trip is, if you're taking a road trip, is to make sure that you get your car booked in for a bit of a service, or that you get any maintenance done and out of the way. Just think ahead. Your car needs to be totally roadworthy and up to the trip. So just make sure that you plan in anything that needs done in relation to your car. And the last thing on my list for getting organised well in advance of your trip is to make sure that you've got any kind of personal care appointments booked in, whether it's a hair appointment or whether you want to get your nails done just before you go away. We all know how hard it is to get those appointments at the last minute. So again, as far in advance as you can, just make sure that that is all in the diary. So moving on now to the things that I try to do about a week before I go. And the first thing is to gather together everything I'm going to pack. And actually, sometimes I'll try and start this process maybe about 2 weeks out. Pick a spot in the house where you can pull them together. If you've got a spare room, great. If you've not got a spare room, or you're really struggling for space, you might not be able to pull all your clothes together at that point, but I would certainly try and get like a bin or a bucket or a basket or something, and just try and assemble all of the little bits and pieces, the kind of things, whether it's what you're going to read, or your sun cream, or your sun hat, or your flip-flops, or whatever it might be, that you can just start tossing them in that bucket and just corral them together. So I definitely start that process at least a week before I go. The other thing that I would say definitely do at this point is just to make sure that everything that you ordered, or everything that was on your shopping list, is bought, or that it's definitely on the way. There's nothing worse than the day before and you think, I did order sun cream, but where is it? And then you realise that for whatever reason that order didn't come through, or you ordered it to pick up in store and you've actually completely forgotten to go and pick it up. So just a week before, make sure that you've done all of that and everything has been kind of checked off that list. I would also say at least a week before, just double check, just check in with your pet sitter, whoever's coming to water your plants or check your house, that type of thing. Just check that they are still okay to do that. Again, nothing worse than finding out the night before that someone's double booked themselves. Just check in, a week before, just make sure that that is still, all okay. worst case scenario, you've got a few days then to come up with a plan B. The other good thing to think about a week before, and nobody wants to think about the time when their trip is going to be over, just start thinking about those basic groceries that you're going to need when you come back. Can you, at this point, buy some bread and milk and put them in the freezer? When you're doing your grocery shopping, maybe that week leading up to your trip, is there some yogurt that you can buy in, that's got long date on it that you can pop in the fridge for coming back, that type of thing. But just sort of try and plan ahead. Or maybe you're going to book a grocery delivery slot for the day after you come back and just pull together a basic order so that you don't have to run out to the grocery store and get a shopping done immediately you come back. You know that that's all taken care of, and that's going to arrive on your doorstep the day after you get home. So about a week before is a good time to get all that in place. The next thing I like to do, at least a week before I'm going on a trip, is to put some lights on timers, for security, just have some random lights going on and off. Now, I tend to have them on timers all year round, so that maybe in the winter time, if I'm out for the day, a light is coming on before I get home, that type of thing. But if you're not used to using timers for lights, and you only really use them when you're away on a trip, I would say definitely get them in place at least a week before, or at least several days before, so that you can just see, living in the house, that they are going on and off at the times that you want them to be going on and off. I've certainly had it in the past where I've been running around the day of departure, putting lights on timers, and then you don't really know, is that light going on and off at the time that you set it to go? Did you set it correctly? Best advice, at least a week before, get those lights going on and off, and that just gives you reassurance when you're living in the house. Yep, it's definitely going on and off at the time that I want it to. So another thing to add on to your list for getting done about a week before is just make sure that you have got enough prescription medication. You may have to add this to your list, your earlier list, and do this much further in advance, depending on how long it takes you to, get your request in and get it filled and that type of thing. But just make sure that you are not going to run out of any prescription medication. Next thing to think about is, we've already talked about putting lights on timers, but when you're away on a trip, you kind of want to make your home, look occupied, or be less attractive to a burglar or anybody with ill intent. And think about the ways that you can do that. I would certainly let your neighbours know that you are going to be away, and maybe one of them could park a car in your driveway, or maybe one of them could mow your front lawn for you, just so that anybody, the house maybe looks a bit more occupied. Or it's all just about these little things. Maybe if you're taking a trip in the middle of winter and snow is a regular occurrence, maybe you need to ask somebody to come and shovel your driveway or shovel your path, or just something that makes it look like the house is going to be occupied. So all of these things, again, at least a week before, I would be having a chat with neighbours, and just letting them know maybe they could, park a car, that type of thing. Maybe it needs a bit more thought and moved further in advance. But yeah, what are the things you can do to try and make your house look occupied? Next, for about a week before, is to try and get all your laundry up to date. Now, this is one that might well have to fall off the list if you are scrambling to try and get ready for the trip anyway. Getting all your other laundry done in advance is a nice to have done, but it's not essential. But it is nice when you come back, when you've got all of your trip laundry, not to have all the laundry sitting there from kind of the week or two before you go. So it's something to add onto your list. If you get it done, great. If you don't, oh well. Also, a week before you go, just run through your home admin tasks that you normally do and make sure that there's nothing that's going to be due to be done while you are away. I'm thinking about things like paying bills. A lot of them are on automatic payments, but there might be one, maybe like a credit card bill or something like that, that's going to be due to be paid while you are away. So you want to make sure and get that done before you go. Another thing to think about a week before you go is what sort of entertainment are you going to need either for your flight or while you're away. I'm thinking about downloading movies or TV shows or podcasts or music playlists to whatever device you're using. I've certainly been there in the house, taxi's on its way to pick me up, to take me to the airport, and I'm still frantically trying to get a TV show to download because I want to download it in the house while I've got my own Wi-Fi. You can't always do it in the airport, might not be enough Wi-Fi or whatever. So a much better way to do it is maybe if you can, a week before you go, just spend a little bit of time, maybe one evening, just relax, browsing your movies, downloading them, what TV shows do you want, get that all done in plenty of time, and then it's all done. Another thing on that note to do at least a week before is if your device, if it's your phone, or maybe you're taking a better camera with an SD card in it, make sure you've got enough storage on that device. I've certainly had it happen to me where you are at somewhere amazing and you want to take photographs and your thing is flashing up saying that the memory is full on your device and you're desperately trying to delete one photo at a time, that you took that you don't need anymore so that you can take these amazing photos of where you are. So again, at least a week before, make sure that you've got all the storage that you need on your devices for taking photos. And then the last thing that I'm going to do at least a week before is just gather together all my travel documents. Now, a lot of airlines will let you check in at this point, some won't, but if you can, get checked in for flights, gather together all your confirmations, know where they all are, know that you can easily access them as well. I know for me, sometimes I've been somewhere where I've not got Wi-Fi and for whatever reason I can't get into the emails on my phone. So sometimes I will just screenshot them and pull together a little folder in my Photos app, which I can seem to be able to access from anywhere. I've certainly done that with airline boarding cards, or anything with a QR code on it or a barcode or whatever. But just make sure that you know where everything is, that you've got everything that you need. Again, it just gives you that little buffer of time if a really important document is not there or an email that you need for something is not there. It just gives you time to find it or get someone to send it to you again. I hope you're finding these tips useful, and if you are, please think about giving the video a thumbs up, a little like, and think about subscribing to the channel. I would absolutely love to have you follow along here. On this channel, I share videos about home decor, all things home, seasonal decor. That's really where the channel gets its name from, but it's about celebrating every season of the year, every season of life. I'm also really passionate about travel, so I like to share travel inspiration here too. If that sounds like you, then please do think about subscribing. I would absolutely love to have you in the tribe. Right, so now let's take a look at all the things that we're going to be doing a day to 2 days before we travel. And the first thing on that list for me is my packing. And I kind of made a little deal with myself a few trips ago, and I decided that from now on, I would kind of pretend in my head that I was departing 24 hours before I actually was. And I was just giving myself this kind of earlier deadline to work to. I know when I'm traveling, I know when I need to be at the airport, but by moving it forward by 24 hours, it just seemed to relieve the stress of the night before a trip, because I could have a really early morning flight. I would maybe have to be getting up at 4 in the morning, and at midnight the night before, I'm still running around trying to do things. And I just thought, no, this is just too stressful. There's no need for it. I'm going to move everything forward by 24 hours, and I am going to aim to be completely packed and ready a full 24 hours before, so that the day before my trip, I can just have a really relaxed day, potter around, maybe do 1 or 2 like last minute things. And if I can get that done, it just makes a massive, massive difference. So for me, I would like to be packed a full 24 hours before I go. if you want to try that, give it a go and let me know in the comments the difference it makes for you. Next thing to get done at least a day or two in advance is if you are setting up any kind of self-watering system for your plants, whether you're gathering them together and putting them in, a bath of water, or you're setting up some sort of drip system, get all that done at least a day or two in advance. Also, a day or two in advance. Again, this is one that's a nice to have done, not absolutely essential, and that is to clean the house. We all love to come home to a clean house, but again, if you are working right up to the last minute and you just don't have time to do it, it's going to have to fall off your list. Absolutely fine, really not a problem. But if you do intend to clean your house before you go, then this falls into that sort of 1 day to 2 day in advance kind of list. So get the house clean. And then just on the back of the getting the house clean, another thing that a lot of people like to do is to have fresh bed linen to come back to. So again, maybe depending on the time that you are actually departing on your trip, you might be able to do that on the day of, but maybe this is something that you're going to have to do sort of 24 hours in advance. I am certainly not getting up at 4 in the morning for a flight and changing my bed linen. I'm just not going to do it. So I'll probably do it the night before, sleep in the fresh bed linen that last night, but at least it's relatively clean to come back to. But yeah, just get your clean bed linen, put them to one side if that's what you want to do. But yeah, do all of that 1 to 2 days before. Another thing that you might want to do in this kind of period is to pop out some new reed diffusers or kind of air fresheners or something like that around the place, just so that when you come back home again, it's going to have the home is going to have a nice scent when you walk through the door. Sometimes the air can just get a bit stale when there's been no movement in the house for a couple of weeks. So yeah, that's just another nice to have. Pop out some new reed diffusers or air fresheners about the place. Also, if you're going on a road trip, you are going to want to fill your car up with fuel. I would definitely, get this done 24 hours before you go. Certainly not something you want to be scrambling at the last minute to do. So yeah, just get all these little things done in advance. So fill up your car with fuel. Maybe you just have to drive to the airport, and if it's an hour or so to the airport, you want to make sure that you've got fuel in the car. So get that done at least a day before. If your airline has not allowed you to check in any further in advance, then you're going to need to check in for any flights. So add that to your list for the day before or 2 days before. Another thing I like to do, just sort of a day or two in advance, is to buy any magazines that I want for my trip and any kind of snacks that I want to take on the trip. I don't want to do that at the airport because snacks are usually way more expensive at the airport. And sometimes the magazine selection at the airport is really poor, or sometimes you get stuck in a really bad security line and you just don't have time to go and pick up magazines or snacks at the airport. So I like to have all of that done, and I'll just, pop to my local supermarket or whatever and get those the day before I travel, and so that I can just have them all ready and just take them with me. So that's another thing for my 24 hours to 48 hours before list. And the last thing on my sort of 24 hours to 48 hours before list is to start a last minute packing list and start jotting down the things that I know that I am going to have to pick up at the very last minute. And when I say pick up, I mean literally from the house. I don't mean buy. So things like my phone charger, which I need, the night before my trip. Maybe it's makeup that you're going to be putting on before you go on your journey that you're going to have to pack in your bag. These kind of things, and I'll just set a list down and jot down the things that I literally, my hairbrush maybe, I'm going to use that on the morning that I'm traveling. I need to remember and pick that up and put it in my bag. So I start to compile a list of the things that I need to pick up at the last minute, and I'll start doing that maybe 24 hours before I travel. So now I'm going to move to my day of departure list. And this comes with a bit of a caveat, because if you are leaving, really early in the morning, you're going to want to move some of these things to your day before list. But you know when you're leaving, so you can work it out. First thing I'm going to look at is your home security. So make sure that all your windows are closed and locked. Any external gates to the back of your property, make sure they're all locked. Any outbuildings, garage, sheds, make sure they're all locked. Any internal doors that you have, maybe between your garage and your home, make sure that they are all securely locked. Make sure that any vehicles that you are leaving behind, that any keys for them are inaccessible. Again, it's something we don't want to think about, but you have to think like a burglar. If there is anything that's irreplaceable, or that you would be, it would be a horrendous issue if it got stolen, make sure that none of that is left out and is anywhere accessible, within your home, whether it's a laptop or jewellery or anything like that. Make sure that nothing is being left around your home that could be targeted easily. Think about your fridge. Clean that out. Sometimes I will give the fridge a good clean out, the day before, and it might just be some last minute items that are left in there to maybe ditch on the day of departure. But make sure there are no perishables left in your fridge. Ditch any fruit that's left in your fruit bowl. Any perishables, make sure that they are gone. Your bread bin, if you keep bread in the pantry or in a separate bin, make sure that that is all emptied and being disposed of. Don't need those funky smells when you come back from your trip, so make sure that you empty all of your waste bins before you go. You want to turn down your automatic heating or cooling systems. I prefer not to switch them off completely, simply because if we're away in the winter, I want a little bit of heat. Minimal though it may be, to be running through those pipes so that the pipes don't get frozen. If we are away in the summer, for us, we don't have air conditioning here in Scotland, but you may have an air conditioning system, and that you're probably not going to want to switch that off completely, because you don't want the house to get so hot that your fridge and your freezer and everything has to, really, really work hard to stay cool. So I think the general advice is to turn them right down, but not turn them off completely. Make sure that you've not got any vases of flowers. I've had that done. You sort of give the place a glance round, forgetting that somebody gave you flowers that are sitting in a vase, and when you come back 2 weeks later, well, you can imagine what you find. So make sure that you don't have any flowers in vases, give them away, or if they're past their best, make sure that you've tossed them and cleaned out the vase. Now, the last thing I want to do before I walk out the door is to run my dishwasher. Flooding doesn't worry me. If it worries you, then that might be something that you want to do, a couple of hours before you leave. But I will usually be throwing things in it at the last minute and running it, before I go out the door. But yeah, again, just make sure that it's done at some point so you're not coming back to foul smelling, dirty dishes. And so here's my bonus tip. If you're one of those people who gets in the taxi, or you're on the way to the airport, or you're mid-flight or whatever, and that thought suddenly comes into your head of, oh, did I switch off the cooker? Or, oh, did I unplug the whatever? Or, oh, did I lock the such and such door? All you need to do is, when you are doing those last minute checks around the house, is quickly take a photo of the stove, the cooker in the off position, or the door in the locked position, whatever it might be, whatever that thing is that will pop into your head as a doubt of, did I do it? Take a photo of it, and then when that thought pops into your head, you've got the photo to reassure yourself. And actually what will happen is, as soon as the thought pops into your head, the mere fact that you remember that you took a photo of it will be enough to tell you that you did do that thing that you're wondering about, if that makes sense. But yeah, I just think it's genius. Take a photo, then you've got it right there in front of you, the reassurance that you did in fact lock the door, turn that thing to the off position, unplug that appliance, whatever it was, game changer. So please do let me know in the comments section which of these tips maybe have been a new one for you that you think will be really useful to you, or the ones that you already do, or do you have tips to share that I didn't include that we could all learn from? That's what I love about YouTube, is that we can add our comments below, we can carry on the conversation after the video, have a bit of a chat, a bit of a discussion about it. That's one of the best bits. So please do add your comments below. I love to get to read them all. And whatever trip you are currently planning for, I hope that you have an absolutely amazing time. I'm going to put a printed version of the list in the description box in the video, so there'll be a link in there that you'll be able to click on and download and print off your own version if that would be useful for you too. So hope that's been helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.